All right. So, what's up, guys? We are here because we want you to be a part of the conversations that we have on a regular basis. And our conversations are pretty candid, pretty random. Can be inappropriate sometimes. But we want you to be a part of some of these conversations. So we were having a discussion last night, very spirited discussion with our sons last night. And one of the things I went to bed with last night was, man, not everybody wants not everybody wants what's good for the greater good. And I woke up with that on my heart today, and I was just like, uh and so help me out with that, because I know we stand on two separate sides of the fence with that. And I know that my brain is like, I don't know. I need to go sit on somebody's couch about this, because I'm just like, I I feel like I'm really, I promise you, I feel like I'm a Disney character sometimes, because I'm like, people would really do that, and you're like, yes, and I'm just like, there's no way. So like, help me help me to understand what it looks like on that side of the street, because I know me. I'm just like, people, at my core, I'm just like, everybody is able to do good, and there's good in everyone, and I want to believe the best in everybody. So help me out with that, because or tell me what you think. Like, what am I just crazy? Well, I won't say crazy, because I don't want to diminish anybody's experience, but is there something wrong with me?
I don't think that there's anything wrong with you per se, more so that you just have a different outlook, a different view, I should say, where you see stuff differently, and you really do. I remember when you used to say all the time when we were dating, I'm different, I'm different. And the more I got to know you, the more I was like, yeah, you different, all right, And that I think that's part of it, because it was a very common phrase when I was growing up, was it's a dog eat dog world. And so I
Hmm.
grew up knowing that. I grew up knowing people want, they're going to look out for themselves first. And so I think consequently it also put that in me. But also, like I tell you, I think it's human nature.
Hmm.
And as he said, we do differ on that. Because he's like, oh, everybody, everybody's not bad. We are all good, and it's like, no, that ain't what the Bible say. The Bible says no good thing dwells in me, right? So there's not anything innately good in me. Even I think back to when before the flood, when God was in the Bible, when he said he looked down and repented that he made it man. He said that human beings, he said they are evil even from their very imagination. That's what
Hmm.
God said when he saw humankind. And it still is today. Like I tell you this all the time. I said babies come here selfish. They come here, don't care what time of night it is. They screaming, they hollering. And even this morning, we were in the kitchen, and I said, when we were talking a little bit, and I said nobody has to go. If you see two children playing, two toddlers playing, if that toddler over there has a toy that the other toddler wants, nobody. Oh, we were watching the dogs. That's what made that conversation come up,
The dogs.
because we have two fur babies, and one dog was eating, and the other dog comes over to that dog's bowl. He got his own over here, but he went over there to her bowl and thought he was finna sniff his face in her bowl. And she's a lot smaller than him. And she snapped at him. She snapped at him so fast, like, and he hurried up and backed up, like, you ain't finna come over here and get what belonged to me. And then you had made that remark, about man, but I was like, that's in us innately. If a toddler has something that another toddler wants, or a child, that child thinks that they should be able to have it simply because they want it. And they'll go over there and snatch it out that person's hand without a second thought. And they'll snatch it like literally like they have a right to do it because simply because I want it. They're not caring about that other child's feelings and how they feel and stuff like that. And it's kind of sad, but that's the world that we live in. A lot of people, I'll tell you straight up, it's only because of Jesus Christ that I'm not like that. Because innately, I can tell you, it's that Christians, I'm be self. My first thing is to be selfish. My first thing is to think first. If I'm being honest, no, wait, no, I gotta have enough of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's only through Jesus Christ, literally, that I am striving to be more like Him. Because otherwise, I'm just like, no, I got mine. Why you can't go get yours?
Mm-hmm. I think that's, but I guess that's the human condition, and as a counselor, I look at that very often, and I'm just like, do we really operate? Do we really operate that on that low level? And again, I have to remember that my perspective is a little different, because I see that as very low level.
And
I see that as like super duper low level, that you if you cannot put yourself aside or sacrifice for the greater good, like what makes you any different than, this is gonna be real strong, please don't cancel me, but what makes you any different than an animal? Because that's what animals do. They're animalistic. They do what's in the best interest for them. And so if we're
so
mm-hmm,
I want to say something because you said something and I just want to inject real quick. So you said, as a counselor, when you think of, why can't you, put yourself aside, da 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 da. So when I'm talking to people, I see a lot of that. Oh, put yourself aside, put yourself aside, put yourself aside. And
yeah,
so I think that there has to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. I agree with that, right? The Bible tells us that we are to prefer others. The Bible tells us that we are to love even the unlovable, love our enemies. So
mm-hmm,
I agree with that. However, I think that there's a place where you have to bring balance to that,
yeah,
because
absolutely,
oftentimes people with that mentality that you have right there, those are people that you often see getting taken advantage of.
you're
Those are
right.
people that you often see being people pleasers. Those are people that you often see struggling even with their self-esteem because they value everything else from everyone else. And there has to be a balance. No, it's okay to put you first sometimes. It is. And I just can't subscribe to the, oh, I always have to put myself on the back burner. No, when you're always putting yourself on the back burner, you're going to end up with an empty cup real quick, because you're
Sure.
constantly pouring and pouring and giving to other people instead of taking that time to replenish yourself. And sometimes that looks like saying no. Sometimes that looks like saying, hey, I simply don't want to. And
Sure.
that's okay. Sometimes that's like, no, you can't have any of mine because I'm tired of sharing. Because I shared last time until it was all gone. And then I had to get out there and nobody was there to help me get more. And so, because nobody else was there to help me get more, now the fact that I had to go and get the more for myself because I passed out all that I had the last time,
Mm-hmm.
now I got to be a little bit more selective about what and who I pass this out to. And I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that there's anything wrong with that. And I don't think that people should be made to feel guilty because they do say no, because they do want to be a little bit selfish, or because they do want to put themselves first. Because, hey, I'll say hands down every day, God didn't create me to be nobody's doormat. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
create me to be used and or abused or any of those things. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, if you're not careful, that mentality will spill over and it becomes a very unhealthy place of, well, this is what this person wants. This, no, what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm. Well, so let me put some perspective around that, because I want to make sure that we have perspective. By no means am I saying that all the time that you should put people before you. What I'm saying is, when it comes to the greater good of individuals, I personally ascribe to, we work together to accomplish the greater good for everybody, but that's just me. I am a natural peacemaker. I'm the one who looks for a solution that is mutually beneficial to everybody. And you're right. I am also self-admittedly, I've struggled for a lot of years with people pleasing. And so absolutely, I have to be more ultra vigilant to put up strong boundaries whenever it comes to making sure that I take time to be selfish. And that's even sometimes hard to say, be selfish as it pertains to myself, because the Bible does say, to love your neighbor as yourself. And so if you're not showing yourself love or consideration, then you can't help anybody else. I feel like that a lot of people will take and again, this is just my perspective. A lot of people will take that thought process of I got to get it for myself, da 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 da, and they won't be. And I know you don't agree with this word. I know you don't agree with this word, but they won't be equitable, or they won't try to. I don't know. They just they uh, people. It's hard for me to conceptualize that some people are just really all about them, and I'm just like, what?
Most
How
people are all about
and
them.
that's what is nuts to me. I'm like, really? Most people are all about themselves. And I guess there is a space even when you are okay. Yeah. Even when you're a people pleaser, that's still selfish, because you're pleasing other people to feel better about yourself. So I guess it is still selfishness. But like that's oh, it's just that's a hard one. That's a really really hard one. Why do you think that is though? Like, why do you? I mean, outside of the human condition, right? We're all born in sin, shaped in iniquity. You know, we came to this world just evil. You know how I feel about that. She calls me Carlton Pearson. God rest his soul. But she was like, you be teaching that hyper grace message. It's just grace. I'm like, but I really want to believe that people are more evolved than their animalistic instinct to be selfish and all about me. I just want to think that. Is that naive?
I mean, to a degree, I
You
think,
can say
because
yes.
no, I mean, no, and I say that to a degree because so I have to make sure I'm good first to a
Mm-hmm.
degree. Because if I'm not good, my mom used to tell me something when I was younger and the older boys were younger. She would always tell me, Chris, you got to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make sure that you're good. Because if you are not good, then you're not fit to take care of anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, people that are like, oh, I'm worried about the greater good of everyone all the time, they end up doing stuff that's really to their own detriment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, you're you're so bent on helping all these people, and now
Mm-hmm.
look at you, broke, busted, and disgusted, and now you mad. But baby, you can't be mad but nobody but yourself, because sometimes helping other people is what you said too about the whole people pleasing thing. Sometimes we're doing that to make ourselves feel good.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's something okay. Sometimes there's something lacking in us
Yeah.
that helps us to say, hey, if I do this for them, then that we're trying to make up for the deficit that we feel on the inside of us, instead of
Yeah.
trying to figure out and get to the root of what's really going on in us while we really have that deficit or feel that void or whatever that thing is, right? And dealing with that internally, as opposed to trying to, well, let me go give here and let me go do this and let me go volunteer my time here and do this and do this and do this and do this because now I feel better about myself,
Right.
until that high wears off. And then you're left back feeling, huh, well, and it's like, sometimes I think that that is where some of that thing comes from, you
And
know.
I think, and you're right, because that's quintessential. I don't like the circles. I'm playing over here because we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do to keep this going. Anyway, but I think that's quintessential people pleaser. I do. I think that's quintessential people pleaser. It goes into a cycle. It's, you please others to get to gratify yourself, and then you notice that the other people who you're trying to please, they could really care less about what you're doing, and so you go into a place of resentment, and then you're frustrated with yourself, and so it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle, and so no, I can appreciate that. I really can appreciate that, and so let's do this. What advice would you give to somebody, or how would you counsel somebody who is stuck in a vicious cycle of, pleasing, who they feel like selfishness is a cuss word, and they have difficulty believe they have difficulty believing that people are really selfish and that people are going to do what they want to do. How would you counsel that individual? What advice would you give them?
Well,
Don't
I,
hold your tongue. You now.
no, because I was going to say something. I'm like, you can't say that.
Don't hold your tongue. See, what y'all don't know is the woman of God. She'll cut you with. She'll cut you. She'll cut you.
With
I, I
love.
I'm Carlton Pearson. I'm gonna be like, so let's try to. She's just gonna be like, you need to get yourself together, because
Right.
what you're doing right now is stupid.
It
And
ain't
that
working.
and she gonna make, she gonna break you down, but she gonna build you back up. She gonna take you low, but she'll bring you back high.
I
Go
will.
ahead.
I will. So I would say, first of all, if you look around the world, you can tell. That's what I would say. You have a hard time believing that. Well, then, baby, just open up your eyes and look around the world. The
Mhm.
world that we live in, people are selfish by nature, and that is okay. My advice really would be to that person. I encourage you to look inward and see what happened or whatever in your life to make you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people like, what is this place that you've been living in? There's nothing wrong with that. But oftentimes, those people who feel like that, as you said, deep down on the inside, they are people pleasers. Deep down on the inside, that there's something there that's just like that makes that so. I can't believe that you would look out for yourself first. Well,
Mhm.
why not? I can't believe you wouldn't look out for yourself first. Like to me, that's. I mean, and we're not talking about if you have little children or something like that. We're just talking about in the grand scheme of things. Terrell, is that let's do what's best for everybody in the community, even if it's not what's best for us. And he's gonna make sure everyone else is happy, even if he's not happy. And sister girl right here ain't having it.
Yeah, no, she's
Because I
not.
refuse. And this is what I would say. Yep. So, what you're doing is you're living everybody else's life except for yours. When you die, you're going to die making everybody else, putting everybody else before you. And you were never put first. Because think about this, if everybody else is putting themselves first and you're putting everybody else first, then where do you fall? What's going to happen to you? So, my advice would be to pray and ask Holy Spirit to give you wisdom, to show you ways to where you need to say no, where you need to take time for yourself, because that spills over into so many other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Those people often don't know how to take time for themselves. Those people, a lot of times, they don't know how to stop and replenish themselves because they're so focused on the poor. They're so focused on everything else. The poor, I mean POUR, pouring themselves into other people. They're so focused on to what everyone else needs. Whole time, everybody else like, no, but I'm focused on what I need. So if you're if I'm focused on what I need and you're focused on what I need, what's going to happen to you?
Yeah.
It's okay. Come back to reality. That is the way that the world is. And it's okay. Holy Spirit will help us with that though. He'll help us. He'll show us, hey, this is where I want you to give. This is where I want you to volunteer. This is what I want you to help this person. If we're listening to him, he'll show us that, and then it's up to us to whether or not we're going to obey. But no, I don't believe that Jesus Christ already came and sacrificed his life for somebody. He didn't call me to do that for everybody else. He did it for everybody. He didn't call me to do that for everybody.
So what you saying is I'm delusional. That's what you trying to say. Okay. All right. So that's really solid advice. And I think what I would also tell the people pleaser, I think you hit it the nail right on the head, is learn how to say no. Take
No
it
is a
from
complete sentence too
it is it's a
for the
complete
people
sentence.
who
It
don't
is
understand.
it's a complete sentence, and you don't have to feel guilty for saying no.
And you
Um
also don't have to have a reason. Can I tell you? Like, people be trying to quantify they know. People be trying to give you, well, no, I can't do it because, and then they try to tell you why they can't do it. You ain't got to tell me why you can't do it. You don't owe anybody why you can't do something. I could not want to do it because I just want to lay in my bed all weekend and watch Netflix. That's why I can't do whatever if you want. And I don't have to tell you that. And even if I do, that's okay.
yeah.
That is okay, because a lot of times people walk around with a sense of entitlement, and they expect people to, well, you need to do this and you have to do this, honey. Don't nobody owe you nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. I think another one is set boundaries, healthy boundaries, and make sure that you have support when you're setting those boundaries. Because if you are a people pleaser, uh, I'll say it like this: if you are a recovering people pleaser like myself, you need somebody who will come behind you and be like, and who will support you and be when you say no. And your instinct is to be like, yes, you're gonna need somebody to be like, yes, you did a good job.
Call
That's what
me,
you
I'll
do.
help you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. I was like, Kristen is very good at cheerleading me and being like, good, you stood up for yourself. That's exactly what you were supposed to. You go, boy. And I'd be like, yeah, but I feel real bad on
And
the
I also be
inside.
like, oh, you don't want to tell them because I tell them.
I'm like, I feel so bad on the inside. But that actually leads into the next thing. Make sure that you do self-care and let go of the guilt and shame that comes along with telling people no or setting a boundary. Like, make sure that you take care of yourself and that you don't rehearse, because I'm telling you guys, the brain is an interesting thing. The brain is so powerful. When you're so used to people pleasing because of whatever traumas or whatever you experienced before, your brain will actually condition you to start feeling shame for saying no and setting a boundary. So make sure that you confront those negative thought processes or those negative things that come up after you set a boundary. And I think the last thing is really make sure that you, like I said, get you somebody. You can't have Kristen because I have Kristen, but get you somebody like Kristen who will be willing to like fortify you and be like, no, you go back in there and you tell them no, or you go back in there and advocate for yourself, because this is what'll happen. I know this to be the truth. When you don't advocate for yourself, something will happen on the inside of you where you won't trust you. Like, you will stop trusting yourself because you've allowed people to have their way with you so many times, and you will stop trusting you.
It's real
So
big.
so you have to learn to advocate for yourself. Because Kristen in the heartbeat be like, go in there and tell them what you need to say. Call them, tell them what you need to say. And I'll be like, oh, I don't want to do it. Or what I'll do. This is actually more of how it'll show up for me, and Kristen can attest to this. I'll be like, nah, it's not that serious.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll be like, nah, I really don't care about it that much. Or
But that's the thing. When people do that, you're trying to minimize it so
right.
that you no, it is. If you're making yourself feel a certain type of way, it is, because how you feel matters, and nobody else gets to minimize. Not even you. You don't get to minimize your feelings. You don't get to minimize how you feel. You don't get to do that.
Mm, I don't get to minimize my emotions.
No, you don't. No, they matter. If they're yours, then they matter. Even if they don't matter to anybody else, they should matter to you. That's even more of a reason why
That's
they
right.
should matter to you. Because if they don't matter to anyone else, then they should matter to you.
That's right. That's right. I think that's good. I think that's good, solid advice. Maybe what we should do, I think I like this. Maybe what we should do is we should call this the advice column. And we have people down in the comments. This is for you who are watching and listening. Down in the comments, or however you communicate with this podcast. If you have something that you want me and Kristen to give you advice about, yeah, put it in the comments, and we'll try to get through them, and we'll talk about as many topics as we can. And it doesn't have to be anything like real deep. If you want us to go deep, we'll go deep. But we'll we'll come on here, and we'll try to give you some good solid advice. I think between the both of us, she'll be all right. She gonna be like, get yourself together, and I'm gonna be like, so here's a Band-Aid and a bottle of water. Can I get you a fan? But that's just because both of our backgrounds are two totally different backgrounds. But what I know is that you need both. You need the hit across the head, and you need somebody to be like, okay, here's some ice, because you just got hit across the head, right? You need both. And what I love about it is I think that we're able to offer a holistic view. I don't think we lean I don't think we lean one way or the other. I think we're right in the middle, because we have to. we have to. We have to, because we see on two totally different vantage points at sometimes. But I think that's what makes it real nice. What you think?
I love it.
You love it? All right. So this is going to be the advice column. If y'all don't put nothing in there, we ain't going to have nothing to say. So will you help us help you help us help you help us? Will you do that? Can you do that? If you love this, tell us that you love it. I love you.
I love you.
All right. We got to get out of here, because she got to go to work.
I do.
All right. So
he works too now. Don't.
Oh, listen.
Head
Don't you sit here and think that I don't go to work, because baby, who don't be on planes going to work? I gotta.
We just work from home most of the time, and I do not quite have that luxury yet. But that's okay. When we fully functioning in our awesome counseling together, and it's able to bring me home while I'm working from home.
That's right. I'm gonna retire her. And all she gonna have to do is sit there and look pretty, so I can just look at her. I can just walk by and be like, that's right. Okay. All right. Put your stuff down in the comments. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Pray for us, because this is yet another thing that we add into our plate. But God be praised. We here to serve the people. If you thought this was good, give us some positive feedback, and hopefully we can do this again real soon. Okay. Bye, y'all.